Hi, I'm Professor Brian Rogers, and welcome to my Communications Neighborhood. Today what we're going to talk about is the closer's question. There's a lot of things about the 3x3 interview prep method that I think are pretty unique and original, but this one is definitely one that stands out as something that you can add in to your interview skills arsenal. It's going to help you have an immediate impact. What the closer's question does is it takes that concept of the interview as a sales process where you're the salesperson and you're selling the most important product that you ever have to sell, which is yourself. And it sort of applies that sales mentality to the interview process. What we do is we take a look at that period towards the end of the interview, when typically on most interviews, when you get down to the last 5-10 minutes or so, the interviewer typically turns it over to you and will say something like, "Do you have any questions for me?" In another video, we'll talk about those questions and what some good questions are to ask and how to handle that section. But the closer's question comes after that. So the way this would work is that the floor is turned over to you. Do you have any questions for me? And you typically want to have 2 to 3. So you ask a couple of good questions, the interviewer answers. Once the interviewer finishes answering that last question, typically what happens next is they sort of say, "Thank you, we appreciate you coming in. We'll have HR reach out to you very soon," something like that. You'll stand up, shake hands, you leave the room. Typically that's the end of the interview. What the closer's question does is it takes that moment and uses it for a much better effect. So essentially what happens is after the person answers that last question that you've asked them, right there in that opportunity, what you do is then you ask one final question. And that final question is something like, "So you've had the opportunity now to sit with me for about 35-40 minutes. We've talked through my resume. You've got to learn a lot more about my background. Is there anything about my candidacy at this point in time that would keep you from recommending me for the next round? Or that would keep you from recommending me for this job?" Whatever the situation may be. What are you doing with that question? You're essentially asking for the sale, just like a salesman would. You're not going to go out as a salesman, spend an hour and a half pitching your product, and then just get up and walk out of the office. "Thank you for your time." You're going to ask, at some point in time, you're going to do a close. "Can I get your business?" Sorry, New York City here, you always get the traffic. At some point in time, you're going to ask for that business. That's what this question does. It's that closer's question that asks, what do I need to do to get the business? 99.9% of the time, they're going to say, "Nope, I've got all the information I need. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. We'll let you know ASAP." Something like that. Sometimes, once in a great while, someone may say, "You know what? As a matter of fact, we're looking for someone that has a really strong quantitative background," or something like that, "and I don't think you have that." If they do give you some feedback that there is something about your background that would prevent them from moving you on, you now have one more opportunity to address it. You could say something like, "I understand perhaps I wasn't clear or I didn't really express myself properly during the interview, but I've taken a number of calculus classes when I was an undergrad. I had an advanced physics class. Even though we mostly spoke about my leadership and teamwork skills, I do want you to understand my quant skills are quite strong and I'm sure I can handle the analytical side of this job." So you do get that one last opportunity to try to sell yourself if they do respond. But again, 99.9% of the time they're not. But what's going to happen is you've just let them know that you're serious. That you want this job, you're serious about this job, you want them to follow up with you about this job, and that you took this process seriously, you take this process seriously, and you really want to know what your chances are you're interested. This is always a good thing. Very few other candidates are going to do that. So just on that front alone, it's going to help you stand out from the rest of the folks that are coming in. Again, it doesn't guarantee you anything. It doesn't mean they're going to offer you anything, but it does help you stand out. It does show that you're serious about the process, you really want the job, and that you're not afraid to ask questions. Ultimately, when firms are hiring people, they're looking for people that aren't afraid to speak up, that aren't afraid to ask tough questions, that aren't afraid to have meaningful conversations, even if it's a little bit difficult. Now, you might say, look, I don't disagree with you, but the way you asked that question was kind of aggressive. Fair enough. Figure out how to ask the question in your words, coming from you, with your intention, with your energy, with your thoughts, etc. It doesn't have to be the way I said it. Is there something about my candidacy that would keep you from recommending me for the next round? You might have your own way. You can change it a little bit, but still, the point is that question really works well with a lot of interviewers. It sits in their mind, this person was serious. It's like a sales call. You got to ask for that close, all right? The closer's question, that's why it's called that. It's meant to mimic sort of the sales process. If anyone has any questions, send me an email or leave them in the comments. Please share, please like, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you tuning in. See you next video.